Welcome to Fantasia, home of the Melodious. My name's Azallea, and today, gonna be bringing you guys another post-duel commentary. Now this time, playing in round number 7 of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Non-Meta Tournament, co-hosted by me and my friend Zom. So, going up against Kite, who is a acquaintance of mine, a friend of mine, and I decided to go first. I believe I get to start, and I used the pre-preparation of rites, searching out the Hymn of Light and the Saffra, setting up for a nice little ritual play right here, summoning the Saffra by tributing the Benten. Now Benten can go grab a search, and because I have the Arya in hand, it is I think it is my best interest to grab a cannon, so I can normal summon the Arya, special summon the cannon, and go for a rank 4 play there. Unfortunately, only restricted to rank 4 plays. If Arya was a soprano, I could go for a Shiberta, which would be nice, but yeah, that is not the case. So I don't have too many first turn options in this build, so just looking through my extra deck, I think I go for a Fairy Cheergirl over here just to net another draw, which is not too bad. So Fairy Cheergirl goes and detaches the Arya, and I draw into a first movement solo, which is okay, if it wasn't for the fact that I'm about to draw into another one right there with Saffra, so easy discard choice right there at least, right? So I do have the Max C in hand to deter my opponent from going off on their turn. So if they start special summoning and everything like that, I'll be getting pretty decent amount of advantage, and sitting on a Saffra protected by Hymn of Light, I'm not too worried about getting OTK'd. Okay, so my opponent goes and summons the Vanishing Lanius, and when he uses the effect to special summon a Raidraptor monster from his hand, I drop the Max C. So now my opponent is going to special summon something and I get to draw a card. And knowing that it's Raidraptors, and well, knowing that it's Kite, he's going to take the Max C challenge. Kite's going to take the Max C challenge, but in general, Raidraptors would have to at least special summon once more to go for the Force Strix, right? Effectively netting me 2 draws and an overall +1. But Kite, oh boy, Kite, searching for that Singing Lanius, which, if he controls an XYZ monster, he can special summon it straight from his hand, which is not bad. And then he banishes the Mimicry to search for the Raidraptor Nest, I believe it's called? Yes, there it is. Okay, so Raidraptor Nest is like a rota for the deck, and if he controls 2 or more Raidraptor monsters, he can add 1 Raidraptor from his deck or a graveyard to his hand. So he searches out the Fuzzy Lanius after special summoning the Singing Lanius, and he summons that and just continuously giving me more and more cards. Again, Swallow's Nest going into the Tribute Lanius. Completely unnecessary, but he's going all in. Actually, I shouldn't say completely unnecessary, because the Tribute Lanius can send the Raidraptor Readiness from his deck to the graveyard. Now, Readiness, if he banishes it from the graveyard while if he has another Raidraptor monster in his graveyard, he takes no damage that turn. Anyway, he goes for a second Force Strix, doing what Raidraptors do best, and just turtling up on a bunch of big defense monsters, right? The Force Strix, the legendary Force Strix. Fuzzy Lanius, when it's sent to the graveyard, gets to search out another copy of itself, which he then banishes using Allure of Darkness after he draws 2 cards. Then he sets 1 back row, and I believe he passes his turn after this. Yeah. I'm definitely going to enjoy my hand, Kite. Definitely going to enjoy my hand. So here, decide to go for the Terraforming and get the Ritual Sanctuary out of the deck before I use the Upstart Goblin. So I'm thinking, okay, I probably won't be able to OTK him this turn because of the fact that he has 2 2500 defense monsters and he has Readiness in the graveyard. So I go for the Upstart Goblin, give him the 1000 life points, which doesn't really matter. I believe here, yeah, there we go, and draw another card. So Fairy Cheergirl drew me the Soul Charge, and then Upstart Goblin draws me the Saffra, which is not too bad. I have a Hymn of Light now and another Saffra in hand, so if I go for the Ritual Sanctuary and I discard something like a first movement solo, I can search for the Benten, effectively setting me up for another Ritual Summon. And yeah, so Benten will be able to net me a search if I do that, and I will be able to go for another search, and I have something to combo Cannon with. If I search Cannon, I can combo it with Soprano that I already have in my hand. So, but first, I decide to go for the Norden just to make sure that I have enough space on my field to work with. So order of plays does matter when you have this many cards, just so that you don't lock yourself out of plays. So go for the Norden into the cannon. Doesn't really matter what I bring back as long as I can make a rank 4. So here I'm gonna go for a Castell, bringing out my own bird from my extra deck here, only for it to get Solemn Strike. Now I had to go for Castell because I need to get rid of the 4-Strix. I had to return one of the 4-Strix to the extra deck so that the defense of the other one would go down low enough for my Saffron to attack over it. So here, because my Castell is gone, I decided to go for another Ritual Summon, so Ben 10 can search out a cannon. Toolboxing from the deck. Searching is just so powerful, right? Just Konami won't give us a searcher though. Anyway, is this why? Is it because this is too broken, right? Melodious is too broken. So Soprano and Cannon on the field. I can go for a rank 4 if I wanted to, but I believe I decide to go for a Fusion Summon. Yeah, there we go. Soprano activating her effect to fuse with the cannon on the field and go for a Shiberta. Now Shiberta can get over the 2500 defense that the 4-Strix has, because she can banish 3 cards in either player's graveyard, and for each card banished she gains 200 attack. So she can go up to 3000 attack, which is enough to attack over the 4-Strix. So here I decided to banish 2 of his Raidraptors and the Swallow's Nest, just to see if he will chain Readiness. If I was going to banish Readiness, right, he's obviously going to chain it immediately and prevent me from dealing damage to him this turn. So what I did was, and he's questioning it too, why didn't you banish Readiness? And I'm telling him right now, I'm telling him, oh well, you'll see. So Readiness requires a Raidraptor monster in the graveyard in order to activate, and because he didn't chain it while I was banishing his monsters, now he can't use it because he doesn't have any more Raidraptor monsters in his graveyard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to banish the Readiness now after I've gotten rid of all the monsters. So this is just a way to bypass the Readiness, and I think it's something that he didn't really catch on to immediately, right? So special summon the Soprano from the graveyard and add the cannon back to my hand, which is nice. Set up another Soprano cannon in my hand. So I go for the second Shiberta, and now I can banish the Readiness and the Allure and the Strike from this graveyard, right? Just to boost up Shiberta's attack and to get rid of that Readiness from the game. So I believe I don't have anything else that I could possibly do, so I just attack into his 4-Strix and lowers the defense of the other 4-Strix that Saffra can attack over as well. Now I can attack directly with both Fairy Cheer Girl and my second Saffra, dealing some considerable amount of damage. Now, I do have a Vandy's Emptiness, so I'm feeling really safe, and I have a Soul Charge that I can fall back on as well. And here, I believe I overlay one of my Saffras and my Shiberta into a Beatrice, because there's no real point in having 2 copies of Saffra on the field, and having a Shiberta with her effect already used is effectively just having a beat stick. So now I used Beatrice's effect to send Metaphor's Fusion from my deck to the graveyard so that I can shuffle it back and get another draw, which is really nice. I really do love that interaction. So Beatrice can be used on either player's turn, so I can send something else on my opponent's turn as well. And one important thing to note is that if Beatrice sends a light monster from my deck to the graveyard, it can proc Saffra's effect. Now, I didn't need to do it in this case because I had already Ritual Summoned this turn, right? I sent Ben 10 from my hand to the graveyard in order to summon my second Saffra. So Saffra gets to activate, and I get to discard a card from my opponent's hand. Didn't need to draw anything, didn't need to add anything back, because I already have 6 cards in my hand, and they're all relatively good. So when you're set up like this, with a really strong field, there's no real point in drawing more cards. Just discard something from your opponent's hand. So my opponent goes and summons the Tribute Lanius, sending the Mimicry. Mimicry banishes itself to search the Lastrix, which gives him access to things like Ultimate Falcon and such, but instead he goes for the Allure of Darkness to draw 2 cards and just use Lastrix as fodder to banish. So he sets 1 card, and he passes his turn, and during the end phase, I use Beatrice's effect, detaching the Shiberta to send a light monster from my deck to the graveyard. I could send a Metaphor's Fusion, shuffle it back on my turn for a draw, but if I send something like an Honest, this is basically like searching, because during the end phase, then Saffra can activate, and I can add back whatever I sent with, you know, Beatrice. So I get to add that Honest that I just sent right to my hand, which is really nice, because now I can attack over his Tribute Lanius, right? So now what I do is I activate Ritual Sanctuary's effect, discarding another copy of Ritual Sanctuary because I had 2 in my hand, to try and complete another ritual set, right? I have Hymn of Light and I have a Benten, so I'm going to go ahead and try to search for another Saphra here. Now he flips up the Raidraptors' readiness, so I know that I can't destroy his, the on-field effect of readiness says that I can't destroy his Raidraptor monsters by battle, which is fine. But now he has too many cards in his graveyard that I can't banish all of them, and you know, the same trick usually doesn't work twice, so he's probably going to be able to protect his life points this time around with readiness, preventing him from taking any damage this turn. So, but what I do anyway is I try to establish a really nice field, or as nice as I could possibly get it. And before Soprano even touches the field, he decides to banish the readiness so that no more shenanigans. He's tired of that, right? Okay, so I didn't need to add back a cannon because I already had one in my hand, and I can only summon cannon once per turn anyway. So this play worked out by Soprano adding the Shiberta back into my extra deck so I can reuse her again this turn. So I believe I just sit on Shiberta because I don't really need to use her effect right now, and I'm feeling pretty safe with that Vandy's Emptiness and everything like that. So, yeah, I could go for a Ritual Summon here by tributing the Benten, summon the Saphra, but that would clog my field, and that would actually be pretty bad. I don't really want my field to be clogged, right? So what I do is I switch Beatrice to attack mode because she is a light monster, so Honest does work on her. It actually works on everything on my field right now. And I'm contemplating going for Ritual Summons. I don't really want to discard any card in my hand right now. So I summon the Saphra, and I believe I tribute the Saphra on the field. I don't go for the Benten. I don't want to clog my field just in case he has something like a Swords of Concealing Light or anything like that. You don't know what people are attacking, right? So it's always nice to leave one space open. And I decide to do the Ritual Summon, go through with it anyway, just tributing the Saphra on my field so that I can use Saphra's effect during the end phase. I just want to discard more cards from my opponent's hand, just make sure that I can secure this position that I'm in right now. But Kite reveals a Twin Twisters, and he is going to go ahead and pop that Vanity's Emptiness, the only trap that I run in this deck actually, so it's actually pretty good for him getting rid of that, so he has nothing really to worry about minus the Shiberta, I guess. But yeah, he sends the Rank Up Magic Skip Force, which I believe it says you can banish that card and one Raidraptor monster from the graveyard to target one Raidraptor XYZ monster in the graveyard and special summon it. So it's really good in bringing back the larger XYZs, because things like Revolution Falcon and things like Ultimate Falcon can still function without having materials. But anyway, he goes ahead and uses Tribute Lanius to attack into the Shiberta. I believe this was a suicide move, so I decided to help him out a little bit by dropping the Honest and using Shiberta's effect to banish some of his cards, banish the Skip Force and the 2 Force Strix so that he cannot use any revival effects on them. Unfortunately, that's 100 life points short of game, but I think he realized his situation and hurt me more. No, Kite, no. So yeah, that does it for game number 1. It was a really interesting game, and I think it was able to showcase a lot of potential of what this deck can do, a variety of plays, and different ways that you can go about managing resources, right? Although that Max C really did set me up for the rest of the game. Anyway, yeah, that does it for game number 1. Let's just hop right into game number 2. Alright, welcome back to game number 2. So during the side deck process, I believe I sided out a Summoner Monk, a Vanity's Emptiness, and an Upstart Goblin in favor of 1 Barrier Statue of the Heavens and 2 Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbits. Now, I know that he was probably going to go first, so because of that, I decided to side in some hand traps and side out my Vanity's Emptiness because it wouldn't be too great going second. So, jumping right into this game though, he goes and summons the Necro Vulture, and when he tries to use his Pain Lanius' effect, I drop another Max C. Max C is just... it's a card that I both love and hate. I love it because if you have it, you're basically putting the pressure on your opponent, a lot of it, especially when they're trying to set up. And when your opponent has it, I hate it because then you can't do anything really, unless you're gonna just leave off with either a subpar field or you're just gonna give your opponent a ton of cards. So my opponent goes and uses the rank up magic skip force to skip his 4 Strix up to a Revolution Falcon, and then he flips the Light Imprisoning Mirror, which actually hurts this deck quite a bit. So I had the option of going for the Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit on his 4 Strix, but I decided against it. Probably should have done that, so then he couldn't skip force, but yeah, anyway. So I decided to go and search for the Ritual Sanctuary with the Terraforming. The Light Imprisoning Mirror will shut down my Saphra's field effect, it'll shut down Ben 10's search effect, it will prevent Soprano from activating on the field, but it does actually not shut down anything in my hand, so I can use Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit from my hand, which is pretty good. But yeah, anyway. Here, I believe I can go for a rank 4 play, so even if I can't fuse, I can go for a rank 4. Light monsters can't get their effects, but I believe I go for a Castel, because Castel is a wind attribute, so can definitely work under Light Imprisoning Mirror, so I'm gonna go for that option now. Just hoping that he doesn't have any strike or warning, but of course, my opponent has the strike, rendering my Castel useless and sending him to the grave. Now, I can easily set up a Ritual Sanctuary, I think, here, and then I can discard the first move as solo to search for a Cyber Angel Benton, which allows me to set up for the Ritual play. I have Hymn of Light, Saphra, and the Benton, but the problem here would be that against Revolution Falcon, it's not too great, and Benton won't be able to get her search effect, and Saphra won't be able to draw me cards during the end phase, so that kind of sucks, right? The Revolution Falcons has a Volcasaurus type effect. If you can target one monster that your opponent controls, destroy it, and if you do, inflict half of its original attack as burn damage, I believe. Yeah, that's if he has a Raidraptor monster as material. But Revolution Falcon can attack when it battles a special summon monster. It can make the monster that's battling its attack and defense 0. So essentially, if I summoned Saphra, he could just easily start dealing damage to me regardless, right, with the Revolution Falcon. So I thought that it would just be better if I let him attack me directly, because I'd be taking the same amount of damage, except now I'd be wasting rituals materials and I'd be using Hymn of Light to protect Saphra. So didn't want to get into all of that and just preserved what I had in my hand. Now, I drew into the Soul Charge, which is really, really nice. And here you saw me check my graveyard, because my first train of thought was, oh, I'm going to summon Soprano and the Cannon and the Castel, overlay Soprano and Cannon for a Diamond Direwolf. Diamond Direwolf will pop the Castel and something that he controls. But yeah, kind of forgot that it got strike. The Castel got strike, so it wasn't properly summoned, so I can't summon it back. So yeah, that happened. But looking at the field right now, you see that he used the Icarus attack to prevent me from using my Diamond Direwolf, blowing up the Ritual Sanctuary as well as my Diamond Direwolf by tributing off his Revolution Falcon. Now, this doesn't change the fact that Light Imprisoning Mirror is still on the field, right? So I summoned the Saphra anyway, just to put a body on the board. I probably should have waited a turn, but whatever, right? I probably should have just set the Aria and just passed. Normal summon the Aria, because I forgot that Soul Charge had this little battle restriction, so I'm kind of misplaying over here. Probably shouldn't just leave the Aria out, but I feel alright because I have the Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. But Kite makes a misplay too. He goes ahead and banishes the rank up magic skip force and banishes the Revolution Falcon to bring back the 4 Strix. He misclicked because he thought the first card that he had to click was the card that he wanted to bring back, but the first monster that he clicked is the one that he banishes. So what he wanted to do was banish the skip force and the 4 Strix to bring out the Revolution Falcon. But anyway, yeah, so that would have actually changed things up, because his Revolution Falcon would be able to attack into Saphra and deal some more damage to me, which would have been good for him, and it'd put another body on board, and I'd have to find a way to get rid of it. Anyway, so it comes to my turn, and I do have a Ritual Sanctuary now, and I can shuffle back some more spells, which is really nice, to summon a Soprano from my graveyard. So I have the Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit still in my hand, still able to use that if my opponent goes for anything weird. and it might come in handy later. But I do realize that my opponent has a Raidraptor readiness that he activated, and I wasn't paying attention during main phase 1. That seems to be a little trend going on here, right? So yeah, so I go into main phase 2 and I decide, okay, let's just make an XYZ with the monsters I have on the field, because they are rather low in attack points. So make a Daigusto Emerald, just start recycling things and getting some draws. I believe I detach a Soprano here, yeah, just to set up in case next turn I need to go for another Ritual Sanctuary. Put back the Diamond Direwolf, the Castell, and the Maxi, because the Maxi has been doing a lot of work for me, so being able to draw another copy of it would be nice. And recycling both of my rank 4s, because those are basically my only outs to Light Imprisoning Mirror, save for the Twin Twisters that are in my main deck. So my opponent goes for a Vanishing Lanius, uses the effect to summon another one from his hand, but I Ghost Ogre it. Now Ghost Ogre doesn't negate the effect, but it does get to destroy it, the monster, so that he can't make a rank 4 play. So here I draw into the Barrier Statue of the Heavens, which is, woo, that's an amazing draw. And I do have a material on their Daigusto that I can still use. So I'm going to use its effect and detach the Aria to shuffle back 3 cards. I'm shuffling back the Ghost Ogre, Snow Rabbit, the Ben 10, and the Aria. This is just to leave Soprano and Cannon in the graveyard just in case I need to bring her back and start doing the loops again, right? And I miraculously draw into the Twin Twister, which is an out to the Light Imprisoning Mirror. Discarding the useless Ben 10 in my hand that I don't need, just also to preserve the Barrier Statue of the Heavens that I can now summon. And since my opponent is pretty low on resources right now, he only has a 4 Strix and a Vanishing Lanius, I'm looking pretty good. So, yeah, enter the battle phase, and I'm going to use Daigusto to attack over the Vanishing Lanius, because once Vanishing leaves the field, 4 Strix has his defense cut by 500. So it goes back to his normal 2000 defense, which Saphira can attack over. Then I can attack directly, a little poke for 1000 damage by the Barrier Statue of the Heavens, and now I am pretty much set up, right, for the rest of the game. Because I discard the Benton with the Twin Twisters, Saphira can actually proc during the end phase because a light monster was sent from my hand to the graveyard. So get to draw 2 more cards and discard 1, and wow, what a tough choice, right? So I do get the Instant Fusion in my hand, but I can't use it because I have the Barrier Statue of the Heavens, which prevents me, or prevents either player from summoning anything except light monsters. So kind of useless, don't really need it in my hand right now. But my opponent passes and doesn't do anything, and then on my standby phase, I believe, he banishes the Raidraptor Readiness, just like he doesn't take any damage this turn. He's not taking any risk with Shiberta and stuff anymore. He's not going to wait. He's just going to immediately do it, because he needs to do it in order to survive this turn. Okay, so I go ahead and I use my Ritual Sanctuary, and I believe I go for a search by discarding the Instant Fusion. Oh, no, that might be later. Looks like I'm bringing back the Soprano first, shuffling 4 spells back, keeping the Hymn of Light in the graveyard as protection for my Saphira. Summon the Soprano, add back the Cannon to my hand, so I can special summon the Cannon, and I can go and Fusion summon here for Shiberta, because Shiberta's a good card. Okay, and Shiberta can definitely banish some cards in the graveyard, which is nice. But Ritual Sanctuary goes ahead and searches for a Ben 10 by discarding the Instant Fusion that I can't really use right now. And now I'm set up for another Ritual play. Now this Ritual play, I decide to tribute the Ben 10 and get a search from it, just because I need the Honest. I'm getting an Honest to protect the Barrier Statue of the Heavens from battle. Here I go ahead and use Shiberta's effect to just banish instead of waiting until my opponent's turn, just because I wanted to free up some space in my field. I don't ever like having a full field of 5 monsters. So I'm gonna overlay the Shiberta and the Saphira for a Beatrice, and doing what I did earlier, gonna activate Beatrice's effect to detach Shiberta and send, I believe, a Metaphose Fusion from my deck to the graveyard, just so I can net another draw right here. Because again, there's no use keeping multiple Saphiras on the field. Now, drawn to the Max C, and wow, that's just absolutely amazing. So at this point, I've basically guaranteed myself game, especially with this end phase Saphira discarding that card from my opponent's hand there, the Swallow's Nest. Of course, if he had another monster, if he drew a monster, then he might have been able to use it with it, but not anymore in this case, right? So yeah, that does it for game number 2. Special thanks to my opponent Kite for being such a great sport. All that small talk and the banter in the chat, that was great. I really did enjoy it, and this was probably my favorite duel of the entire tournament. So thank you very much for that, and thank you very much to all of you who are watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, subscribe for more Melodious content, and leave a comment down below letting me know what I can do to improve. And until next time, take care.